Alright, so I've started recording. Where to start, I guess? I don't know if I should just start demoing stuff or wait till people ask questions, but for the people here already, if you're switching to from Psy to this, a really cool thing to do is it going to highlight my pen? I want it to highlight my cursor. Fine, don't highlight my cursor, be an asshole. Um, where is it? If you go to Window, Workspace, oh, let me register this workspace so I can't lose it. Mine. Okay, because I don't want to lose my workspace. But if you're like switching from Psy to Manga Studio, if you go to Window and Workspace, I don't know, here, default. Following on it. Okay, I'm going back to default. This is what Manga Studio looks like in terms of like the window layout. Oh, you were muted. But yeah, by default, this is the way that Manga Studio is arranged. And it's very daunting and confusing at first. A friend, in fact, I learned most of this from Joe Hilbert, told me that if you go to Window, Workspace, and pick Illustration, it will arrange things in a way that is much more similar to Psy. I think it saves some of my arrangement settings. So this is actually a little flipped from how it... Let me see if it can... Let's say illustration. Reset illustration. Okay, I'm going to reset illustration. Okay, here we go. This is how it looks if you set it to illustration. So it ends up being a lot more Psy-like. However, I move my windows around, which you can do just by grabbing them, and like I don't like the navigator, so I got rid of it. Go away, and I don't have like this stuff. I don't got use for you. Go away. I don't got use for you. Get out of here. Layer property I keep open. Layers I keep open. Color wheel. This stuff. This stuff. Now let me go to the workspace I saved. Register. Manage workspace. Here we go. Mine. Okay. There. What the? Hey! Hey, that's not how I did things. No! Well, I guess you can just... No, I want to go back to mine. Workspace, reset mine. Yes, I want to... Okay, cool. Alright, now we're good. We're good. It's weird. Alright, so now we're back to the settings and the arrangement I like. And I like it arranged this way because all the things I would select really quickly are right-handed. Are on the right side, and I'm right-handed, so it's really easy to go click, 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 right there. Alright, so let's see what's first. I guess I can start with tones. People ask me a lot of questions about tones, so I'll start with that first, and I guess I will just start with a quick-ass doodle on a layer. I should have done a doodle ahead of time. Let me select a brush I like for the doodling. Just get something sketched out, blur. No. I'm just going to doodle a quick Mac. Okay, I'm going to ink it on another layer, blah, blah, blah. Where's my inking pen? Just to have something to ink, to tone real quick. Doop. I'm going to do this really fast. This is going to be the shittiest Mac in the world. Shittiest Mac in the world. I should have done this ahead of time. I guess I could just go find something I inked already, but whoops. I already started. What you gonna do? What is that fucking smell? Sorry, there's a smell. Oh, it's like gasoline. Hi, Joe. Joe J.K. Hilbert, he is the one who taught me a lot of Manga Studio stuff. He is full of good answers to hard questions. No, she has not. Okay, so let me delete everything in that layer. Alright, so here I have a shitty doodle. And I guess I can go over fill tool, because I use the fill tool a lot. Oh wait, no, I just did those in the same layer. Oh well. I'll merge them and make a new one. Okay, so this is going to be the layer with the tones. And I'm sure people are aware that I don't tone the way most people tone, where it's meant to print, flat. I do it for a texture, so I exaggerate it so it's more obvious. So if you're looking to do things a traditional way, I'm not a good teacher. If you just like the way I use tones for textures and stuff, then here we go. This is what I do. Okay, so I have a new layer, and that's where I'm going to basically do grayscale flats. Like I'm going to pick a color in here. Wait. Let me zoom in on, here we go. I'm zooming in on properties, and I'm going to select, I've made the property toolbar area bigger so y'all can see it easier, but I am going to get the fill tool, and there's several different kinds of fill tools. I just discovered these two. This one, this is your basic fill tool. How easy, blah, blah, blah. It gets cut off, but here, let me fix that. How do I fix this? How do I get this to not get cut off? Here we go. Let me just fix this. There. Now it's not cut off. Okay. Back to work. Oh no. But yeah, if you'll see all these settings, follow adjacent pixel, that just means it I don't know terms. Anyway, follow adjacent pixel and multiple references, that means it references all the layers. And area scaling is how far outside of the area it goes. Like it's sort of like if, oh god, I didn't think this through. I'm not good at talking. Shit! But basically, it extends the fill area several pixels out, which is helpful for like filling in gaps and stuff. And this it's called to the darkest pixel, and it kind of just goes to the edge and goes slightly past. If you select this one, round, and let's say I want it to go 12 pixels outside, it will ignore the darkest pixels. It will just go outside and outline them. And this one does similarly, except it's a little like more angular. So I prefer to do this one since it stops at like the darkest part. But it's good because, like here, if I can demonstrate, I'll do this red under. Here it is under the line art, and if I move it above the line art, you'll see that it actually overlaps the lines a little, and that's what area scaling is cool for. It also does this closed gap thing where it's kind of like Flash, I guess, where you can determine like how big a gap it's going to fill. Well, this isn't a good drawing. There we go. Make it smaller. So yeah, and the rest are pretty typical. There is this paint remaining area. I don't completely understand it, but I started using it recently. But basically, if you select a color and you brush this over it, it will only fill areas that are closed, like that. So like, if I pass it over over here like this, since the only area that was closed within that selection were his ear and his little sideburn, then that's all it's going to get filled. So that's kind of interesting. Then there's the fill lasso, which it basically just fills in an area you outline. It's good for like spotting blacks and stuff like that. Quick things like that. That's not actually in the options for fill. That's going to be, you got to go create custom subtool, and you got to find it here. It's going to be direct draw, lasso fill, and then you got to find the icon. Yeah. So yeah, you got to go into settings and stuff and find it. So yeah, those are all the ways you can edit the layer. So yeah, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do grayscale tones. Where's my fill? There it is. Just fill his hair in again. And what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to turn that off. Layer properties. Okay, I'm zooming in on layer properties. On the layer that you want to apply the tones to, you're going to go into layer properties, select tone, like that, and it's automatically going to turn anything you do on this layer into black and white tones. And you will select how big the dots are by scooching this around. And obviously, if you're trying to print this, if the goal is for this to be print and for it to print like, you know, grayscale flat, you're going to have to probably do some test prints and keep it fine. But for my purposes, I just try to keep it kind of big. I happen to know from trial and error that 36%, when I zoom out, is about how big my pages resize when they print and for web. Just from trial and error, I figured that out. So it's a good thing to learn for yourself, like how zoomed out it is relative. What zoom? I'm sorry, I'm so bad at talking. It's good to figure out like at what zoom it's equivalent to the page when it's like for resized for the web or when it's printed, and I know that's 36%. So with that in mind, I'm actually not nervous. I'm just a bumbler. I'm actually pretty good right now. So yeah, with that in mind, I can do things, zoom out to where I know it's gonna, how big it's gonna be displayed or printed. So I can figure out how big I want the dots to be. And if the dots are kind of small, it'll automatically kind of flatten them. So what you have to do sometimes is rasterize a layer. Go to like right-click the layer and then rasterize, and that'll show you how it actually would look. I think it's just sort of a vector thing. Where if it's not rasterized, it's just automatically going to flatten it. I don't understand. But so sometimes I have to rasterize and I go, no, I didn't like that. Change the level of dots. Rasterize it again. Oh, no, I don't like that. You know, it's just trial and error. So with that in mind, I have this, I'm going to zoom in because the tones distort on the screen. But yeah, I have this layer that's got a tone effect. I am going to, let me move this real quick. Okay, I'm going to select the layer and I'm going to lock it. You can lock it with this little lock symbol next to a transparent block symbol, but it's just lock transparency pixel. It just locks transparency, which you can do with like most programs, but that means that the only layer I can color on, here, let me remove the tone so you can see, but that means the only layer I can color, or the only thing I can color on are things that are not transparent. You know, that's pretty common in a lot of art programs. Yeah, it depends. That's what I'm saying. It's trial and error. How much your, what percentage would be equivalent to your web display or your print size is going to depend on a lot of factors, and that's why it's a trial and error thing. Print reference. You always want to print a reference and have a web display version open so you can eyeball and compare things. It's trial and error if you want things to make sure things look right, but it's worth it. But yeah, no. If you lock the transparency, you can do stuff like this, and that's kind of important for tones. So I'm going to turn the tones back on. Oh, and a cool thing is you can turn the tones on and off, and it'll save your settings for that layer. So I have the tones turned back on, and I have the layer locked, so I'm going to get my airbrush and select black, and I'm just going to do that. And then I'm going to select white and do that. and it actively, like, what I used to have to do was in Photoshop, I would have to, there's a setting where you go to filter, color halftone, and then it applies the setting and the filter to your, brain fart, to your, layer. Sorry, I'm tired. And, but if it didn't look right on when I tried it, I would have to undo, change the settings, try it again. Undo, change the settings, try it again. But with this, here, let me bring up the layer property, zoom again. There. But with this, I can actively change the dots. It's good, and you can play around with it. I can rasterize it. The only thing is, if you want to make the dots a little transparent or lighter or not pure black and white, for example, because sometimes I will overlay the tones on a flat grayscale. Here, let me do that real quick. Let me make a new layer that has just some flat grayscale. Okay, so that's under that one. If you try to make this layer transparent, what it will do is it will sort of treat it like it's a flattened layer, and it just lightens the colors. It's really weird. Transparency can look really weird, so it just changes the dot size. It's really weird. I'm not sure why it does it, but it does that. So since I like to do them as overlays or textures, I will rasterize it. Boop. And then I'll just play with the transparency like that. I mean, obviously it means I can't go back into the settings up here and change the dots, but usually it's because I figured out the dots I want and I'm happy with it, then I can go back in and, goof around. And another cool thing is, let me go back and undo. Okay, you can change the type of, well, not the type of dots, but the shape of them, I guess. There's like square, and I don't like square because I can't tell a difference when it's zoomed out. The only ones I really like are line and cross. And line is really neat. It looks like this. That's really good for like textures and stuff, and I like doing that. And then there is cross, which is another good one for textures. So yeah, that's really neat. I'm going to hide this layer. Another thing I like to do, which this makes really easy, was something that took a lot of like goofing around in Photoshop to get this to work, but it's a little texture thing I like to do that it's way easier here. I'm going to select his hair as an area with the magic wand. I don't know what you call this. I'm not smart. So I select an area. Maybe I want to do like tones as a highlight, so I want them to be white. If you select white, and I made a new layer, which you can't see because the layer effect is blocking it, but whatever. Yeah, so I make a new layer over that gray, and then I make it a tone layer, and I'm just going to airbrush white. If it's just pure white, it'll treat it like the black dots, but well, white obviously, and that's really fun for textures and stuff. That's a really fun thing to do. You can make it lines, and the cross. So yeah, it's really neat. I love doing that for textures. The tones only render in black and white, but once you've rasterized it, you can apply color to it. Like if I try to draw on this in color, it'll treat it like a black and white. It'll just grayscale it. But let me get rid of this and go back to this. But after I'm done goofing with it, I can no, wrong layer. I can, let's say, okay, I'm going to rasterize that. And there is a layer, it's called layer color, and it just changes the layer color to whatever you pick. It's a kind of a really easy way to apply a color to everything in a layer instead of, say, locking the transparency and going over it with a brush. It's a little limited, and it can only do one color, but for a quick application, it's neat. I'm not a big fan of it for most applications, but once it's you've rasterized the dot tones, you can do whatever you want with them. Oh, an easy thing. Maybe can you? No. Well, let me get rid of that preview. A cool thing to do with let me get rid of this layer property thing is it's really, really, really easy to you know how when you want to make black and white line art transparent, like so the white areas are transparent and the black areas are solid. There's a really, really, really easy setting for. Stop that. There's a really easy setting for that. You just go to Edit, Convert Brightness to Opacity. That means anything that's white is going to be made transparent, and anything that's kind of slightly gray is going to be kind of transparent. You know, it's going to be relative to how dark it is or how bright it is. So let me get rid of all these layers. As you can see, after rasterizing those tones, they're pure black and white. If I just want the black and I want to get rid of the white, I just go to Edit, Convert Brightness to Opacity, and bam. Now the dots are just pure black. No white. White is transparent. Which means you can do stuff like that. I have it locked so I can make the dots red by just airbrushing over them or drawing over them because I've locked that transparency now, and now I can only draw on the black dots. Oops, I want to lock that transparency. So yeah, that's how I mostly do tones. Tones can be done for really quick, cool stuff like let me do something like I do hair. Like hair is really fun to texture that way, like short or fluffy hair. Like you can let's get rid of Mac for a minute. Like let me select an area. Here we go. I'm just gonna make some like a puffy area just for like some puffy hair or something. And pick a color for that. Whatever. And then I'll make a new layer, and that's gonna, let me turn the tones back on. Okay, and I'll make that let's say yeah, just circle. Circle sounds fine. Select black, and I'm gonna go into my airbrushes and look for a textured brush. Like shadow seems fine. I'll just pick shadow. This is a brush I goofed with. Where'd it go? Okay. And since it's a textured brush, it's, you know, a little more jagged and a little weirder. But between the dots and the texture of the brush, it's creating an interesting texture that's a little rougher, and I can like pick a different brush to add more, like this blur spray brush. I'm good at words. So yeah, it's really neat. I'll just take my eraser and erase through them. So you can do really cool things with the tones. Let me delete these. A few other things. What were people asking about? Oh yeah, inking. People were asking about inking, and it compares really well to Sai. It's pretty easy. You have highly customizable brushes. Like, it's ridiculous how customizable. Like, this is a brush I customized based on a pre-existing brush. This is my favorite inking. This is the brush I ink with. No, that's not it. This is the brush I ink with. And I kind of customize that. What else is there? What else are people asking about? But yeah, oh yeah, customizing brushes. Here we go. Let me duplicate my brush so I can't mess it up. I'm going to duplicate this brush real quick. Fart is what I'm going to call it. Alright. Let's go into fart. Stop it. Okay. So let me get rid of this window. Alright. There is a where can I need to edit the scene real quick. So Well, that's not gonna work. Well, whatever. Anyway, I guess my window's a little cut off. Let me see if I can't. Oh, it is a little cut off. Okay. That explains a lot. Okay. So that explains a lot. Anyway. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, here we go. Alright. Sorry about that. I'm getting used to some Picardo shit. So, down here, you can go to, it's going to open up the advanced settings for your brush. So now that I've shown that, I can move this back down because fuck it. Alright, it's going to show you the advanced settings for your brush, and if I click here, I'm going to make that bigger so that y'all can see. Alright, but yeah, this is your brush settings. So this, like I said, this is a duplicate of my favorite inking brush that I customize. Gosh, I'm going to go through all the settings, I guess, but like, under brush size, you can basically affect what causes the brush size to change. Oh, let me just... Okay, there we go. And you can adjust all these... Oh, God, I don't even know how to start explaining them. But yeah, you can adjust all these parameters. Like, two things affect my brush's size, and that's pen pressure. Turn it off, turn it on. Which is just, you draw hard with it, or you draw soft with it. And velocity, so the faster I draw with this brush, it will actually get wispier if I draw really fast with it, and that's a cool thing, velocity effects. I don't know how to describe this little graph looking thing. I just know if you goof around with it, it'll affect how much pressure you need to apply to make your lines thick. Like, I don't even know how to explain it because I'm not smart. I just learned through trial and error what I like. But yeah, these little settings of pen pressure thing, it's useful. Very, very useful, and I wish I was smart enough to explain, but I'm not. So, yeah. So then ink is another setting. I don't really play with this a lot, but this is usually really useful area for like if you're going to have brushes that mix colors and stuff, but I don't usually do that, so I don't have fancy painting brushes. So yeah. Anti-aliasing. Oh, and another thing to point out, you'll notice that down here in your brush settings, if you select a brush, if you just select a brush, you'll have all these settings underneath it. Here in your little pop-out area that I showed you, there are these little eyeballs, and if you click them, it'll make that setting option an option in your little toolbar down here, so in case you want to change those things on the fly. So as you can see, I'll make that eye close, and the setting will disappear on the right-hand side, on the right-hand corner. So if I want that to always be an option I have access to without this pop-out setting thing, you do that. So yeah, this is just anti-aliasing. You can select how hard the brush is, and I usually like my brushes kind of soft. That's what I do. That's how I roll. Brush shape. I don't play with this a lot, but it's full of interesting things like that you can goof with, but I've never really messed with this aside from like one brush, so that's interesting. You can have fun with that. Brush tip. This is where you can like customize the tip you use, like on my stipple air brush. Wait, no. Let me go to on this dot brush of mine. I have a brush tip I made, and you can see it under here under tip shape. And you can customize and make it yourself. That is a lesson for another day. I don't know anything about, well, I do know how to make brushes, obviously, but that's like a really complicated lesson for another day, and I'm not going to do it today. Anyway, but yeah, no, you can make your own brush shapes. Like I have a bunch of, here, let me look through them. Like, this is just a generic, these are default, this is a default one, this is a default one, this is one I made, this is one I made, this is one I made, me. Me. Yeah, I had to work on my braid ones a lot, so I have a lot of like crappy versions. This is the default one. Me, default. Me, default, default, default. Me, default. But yeah, there's so many brush tips. Me, default, default. Default, me. Yeah, I've made a lot of brush tips. Default, 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 default. But yeah, you just, it's ridiculous. Default, me, default. Yeah, just lots of brush tips, and it'll affect your lines, but this is where you would go to edit that and change it. They have the thickness. It's like, thickness is like how wide or, depending on the direction, tall your brush renders. It's really weird. Like I said, I'm not smart, so I don't know I'm not super smart, so I don't know like how to describe some of these things. But yeah, thickness, like, is you can see my brush got skinnier over here on the side. And you can, if you select direction of applying and change it, it'll get skinnier the other way. It's useful for some brushes. I haven't had much use for it because of the way I work, so... Oh crap, I'm editing that brush. Oh, who cares? Who gives a shit? Let me go back to my fart brush and open those settings again. Okay. So brush tip, thickness. I don't... Just like with the brush... let me raise this up. Just like with the brush tip and brush size, you can use pen pressure and tilt and velocity to affect how thickness renders. Direction, I don't know why I have random selected, because direction doesn't matter because to this brush because it's uniform, but these are all settings. Just go play with these things. I don't have super a lot of time to go into all these things, but yeah, just goof off with all these settings if you want to make custom brushes, because it's crazy. Brush density is just opacity. That's all that is. And like just like that, you can have it vary by pen pressure and all that stuff. And if you press light, it'll be transparent, and hard, it'll be dark. Spraying effect, that's it's weird. It like I said, it's a sort of an airbrush effect, and that's something I would play with too for textures and stuff. Get stroke is it is the gap between the brush tips, the brush tip shape. So this is by default a circle. That is the default brush shape, a little circle. And since I'm widening the gap, that means there's a wider gap between each circle. And that's very useful if you want to customize brushes and stuff. But since this is my inking brush, I just leave it no gap, so it's smooth. Like that. And texture, you can apply textures to your brushes. A lot of them, Manga Studio has a lot of fucking textures. Why is that a texture? That's not supposed. I must have labeled some things wrong, but yeah, lots of cool textures. Border of watercolor. I'll have to select a color for that one, but border of watercolor adds this like kind of watercolor, watercolory border. And you can play with that, and it's kind of, it's an interesting effect. I haven't found personal uses for it, but I think a lot of people could definitely find uses for it. This is also an effect you can find in the layer settings, which I can show you in a second. Erase. I don't know what this is. I can't tell you. Sorry. Let me go back to that. Oh, let me turn the watercolor border off. I don't know what erase. I don't know what this erase thing is. I don't know what it is. I think it's for vectors, and I don't draw with vectors, so I can't tell you. If you're interested in vectors, you're gonna have to find someone else to tell you, because I don't know shit, because I don't like them. I only like them for making logos and designs and stuff. I don't like them for drawing with. But that's just me. Correction. These are your line stabilization options. And as you can see, I have those little eyes checked so they're visible in my settings down here, so I can change them on the fly. It's kind of like how Paint Tool SI has the line stabilization. I'm good at talking. And you can turn it down, turn it up, and it just smooths your lines for you, stabilizes your lines. And it does it without a lot of lag. Like, I don't really notice any lag in it, so that's pretty cool. I do, however, use, in conjunction with this Lazy Nezumi, that kind of adds more extreme line stabilization, which I like. I don't think it'll... Will it actually demonstrate if I... Oh wait, here it is. Cool. Oh no! Don't do this! Don't do this to me. Okay. So this is Lazy Nazumi Pro, and this is a line stabilization program. Let me get rid of settings real quick. I wonder if I can zoom. Fuck it. But yeah, it just I'm gonna hook. You gotta hook it to whatever window you want it to affect. Here, I just hooked it to Manga Studio, and you turn it on. And let me go to massive smooth. And there's a lot of lag. Like, I'm moving my hand really fast, and there's a lot of lag because this is like a very extreme stabilization setting. Like, it does make really smooth lines, but there is some lag, and it follows your brush. Kind of lags behind your brush. Where's my chat room? There it is. So it's neat. I really like it for certain things. It has a lot of other way crazier settings I don't really use because I just use it for the line stabilization. And I've made different settings. Like I use two of its defaults, but I also have my own, which is sort of in between the two. It's just nice. See here I'm drawing kind of crazy, but it's smoothing out my line. That's nice for certain things. So yeah, I like Lazy Nazumi a lot, and I recommend if you like line stabilization, you know, get it. It's cool. So what else is there? I think I've gone through some of my favorite shit. Oh, I guess the perspective tool is interesting. I could go and goof around with that piece of shit. Um, oh, also, I was flashing this earlier. I have it on the bottommost layer, but this is sort of a template I made for myself based on two other templates I like that I keep as my bottom layer and I use as a reference for my comic pages because I do all my comic pages the exact same size because I like stability and I'm boring and all my books will always be the same size, 6 by 9, because I'm a boring piece of shit. Okay, so a cool thing, really cool thing Manga Studio does is you can draw panels and they will be different layers and they will be masked so that you can only draw in that panel. So like, let me do that for example. Don't be alarmed by my panels. My panels look weird because I've customized them because I draw with black borders now. So I'm going to select an area with the, here, let me actually turn that back on so you can get a zoom of that. Dang it, now I got to move it again. Life is hard for me. Life is hard for, no, not that one. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to select this, which is the frame border thingy. I'm going to get rid of this. I don't need Lazy Nazumi opener. So and you can select from the different things. God, I'm bad at this. Why do I think this is going to be a good idea? Anyway, oh, that's right, because people kept asking me, and now they don't have to ask me anymore. I'm going to select rectangle frame. I'm just going to draw like the basic shape of the page, blah, blah, blah. Like I said, wait, is Lazy? Oh, it's still open. Stop it. So what I do is I do that, and that makes this big rectangle. Actually, let me turn my settings off because it's going to be confusing because of the way I do it. But let me make my brush size smaller so it's sort of a panel most people would do. So I'm going to do this bit different so it's easier to demonstrate because my settings are stupid. So, too small. Now you can't see anything. Try this again. So here's the basic page shape. No, I made it too big again. I'm so sorry. Why are y'all here? Get out. Go home. Okay, so here's a basic page shape, and margins are here. And I'm gonna actually divide. Don't laugh at me. I am gonna divide this big rectangle into the panels, and I'm gonna use frame border split. Frame border split will basically put each new panel into its own folder. And border will just, I'm not, like I say, I don't know exactly the terms, but it'll just affect the mask of the layer. So frame border split, you can pick whether how you draw your line, but just start with, I'm gonna just grab this, do the straight line. And now this has been separated into two different panels that are in frames. I mean, not frames, folders. So I select each folder, and that is a different panel. And I can only draw within, oops, let me actually select a layer. I can only draw within that panel. It has a lot of presets too you can go through, and let me play with this a little more. Wait, nope, wrong. You can also go, well, now you can't see it. Let me scoot this up. But you can change how big the gaps are between your panels. So this is set to 51 horizontal and 86 vertical, and as you can see, it's a much bigger gap. And you just customize that based on what you want. You can do things like this, and this, and this. And now each of those those panels is its own frame. Why do I keep saying frame? Is its own folder. Like I said, that you can draw with it and blur. So I'm going to select this one. So yeah, it's pretty cool for keeping things tidy like that. And anything you can do to a layer, you can do within these folders. I'm trying to think, what have people asked about before? I guess let me delete all these, but that's something to goof around with. You'll learn. Let me delete all this crap. Delete and get rid of that. A cool thing is the perspective tool, which is one of the written tutorial. Written tutorials take a lot of time, unfortunately, because I have to like basically do these things. Oh, there's tons. All you have to do is Google Manga Studio 5 tutorials, and you'll find a million. That's how I learned, just from like 50 different tutorials. So yeah, the perspective tool is really cool. Like, I'm gonna sketch on a layer. I'm gonna sketch a bed. I don't know. Let me get a sketch pen that I like. Blah blah blah. Here's a bed. Do 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 do. Do do do. Sketch in a bed. Sketch in a bed. Do 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 do. Just as like a starting point. Oh, I sketched on the wrong layer. Who cares? So I'm gonna select the ruler tool, and I'm gonna go down to perspective ruler. And what you do is you I'm not smart. I don't know why I thought this would be a good idea. You pick out you sort of trace the different points, the lines that go out to the horizon. I'm not smart. So you just, damn it, I did it wrong. You use you create the different lines that go out to the horizon, and you draw them out like that. And let's say I want it to be, 2-point perspective. I'll just do it again. There. I'm going to go to a different layer now. If you want to make that ruler apply to multiple layers, because right now it's locked on that layer. Oh, I don't have anxiety. I'm just dumb. If you want it to apply to all the layers, you're going to have to right-click the ruler and go Show in all layers. And now your ruler will apply in any layer you're working in. So I'm going to grab a brush. Let me just do red because it'll be easier to see. Now there's this little button up top that says Snap to Special Ruler. And turning that on or off will allow your brush to be controlled by the ruler. Also, in your brush settings, it might not be visible in the ruler. I mean, I'm so sorry, in the tool properties. So if you go into the settings, you go to correction, and able to snap will allow it to snap to rulers. So if Clip Paint and Manga Studio 5 are basically the same thing. So if you make it able to snap, then it can, follow a ruler. Okay, so with that all the way, now all of my lines will follow the perspective ruler. I will not be able to not. So let me do something real quick, because this is actually, I really wanted this to be. Dang it. I goofed. I goofed bad. Okay, cool. Now I can make this transparent so you can see better. Alright, cool. This basically means that your lines will only follow the perspective rulers. They're like that. You gotta play with it a little, because it can get finicky and kind of weird. Yeah, little things like that. Now you can goof around. Draw more. Define the space a little. It's really nice like that. So what I'll usually do is I do a really rough, crappy doodle of the room. Then I'll do like a really stiff, like I'll trace out the shape like this, like really stiff and shitty. Like, here's a door. Things like that. And then on another layer, when I start, I'll do another sketch over it where so I'll make a new layer, and I maybe won't snap it to the ruler anymore, and I'll just, trace over so it looks more organic. Then turn it back on if I want to just like do that. Turn it off again, because like I say, let's say this is going to be like, nope, turn it off. Turn it off again, so this can be like something more organic that's sort of on the wall. Fine. Door. Lock it again. Yeah, it's fun. It's cool. I likes it. And this, yeah, it's pretty cool. It can be, if you're really lazy, it can look really stiff and shitty, so you want to use your tools wisely. Well, that's true of anything. You want to use your tools wisely. I'm so fucking good at talking. So that things don't look really stiff and robotic and crappy. You want to work in organic shapes and stuff. What else is there? I don't think there's a lot else. What else is there? Now that I've like run down all the things people ask me about all the time, so now I don't have to answer those again. Yeah, use your tools, Riley. Lettering. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Let me delete all this shit. Get out of my life. Okay. Oh, let me delete that ruler. Alright. I have not covered lettering. No. So I'm going to go to a new layer. Let me get Mac back. This stupid ass. Let me make this gray again, because I don't like all these damn colors. Alright, here. And just for demonstration purposes, I'm going to put this inside a panel, since that's most commonly where people would probably be. Let's see. Let me draw out an area and divide it into just some half-assed. There. Oh, another thing when you're doing this, it doesn't always have to be straight lines. So let me delete a few. It can also be, those lines can be drawn with kind of point by point, like so. So you can make more interesting shapes. Or you can do it, what is this called? Spline or spleen? Spline is what this is called. But basically it's sort of a, makes it sort of curve, like a bezier or whatever curve. I don't know how you say that word. I just remember it from MS Paint. That's my only reference. So yeah, that's neat. So I'm going to move Mac and his crap into one of those real quick. This top one. No, this one. There we go. Get him all framed up. Whatever. I don't know. Alright, this is just for demonstration purposes. Alright, zoom in. Alright. So to do word balloons and lettering and stuff, now I don't hand letter. I have a font I made from my handwriting. So if you hand letter, you might do this differently, but I really don't know. So I can only show you how I do it. So I'm going to select text. Actually, let me make this bigger so you can see it. Let me go into brush there. So that makes it bigger. Let's see. Oh, well, you can see most of that. That's all that matters. So I go in here, select text, and down here is where you can edit how your font looks and all that stuff. So I'm just going to type something out real. It'll be easier to demonstrate once I type it out. Now, as soon as you start entering text, you're going to get a new layer over here, and it's a kind of a text-specific vector layer. I don't know the technical terms. I just have goofed around, and I know things happen when you do certain things. So I'm just going to type something out. I don't know. Okay, fine. There we go. And I can just, I'm going to move that around over here. I want to change the font to black and white. So let me just, okay. So now my font is black. Like I said, this is based on my handwriting, so it's a personal font. And you know, you can, just like in kind of Photoshop, you can make this bigger and you can make it smaller. And the size will be reflected over here size. Since I made it bigger, the font's now 14.2. That kind of stuff. So yeah, it's basic kind of text editing. Where it gets interesting and more Manga Studio specific is when you start drawing your balloons. Here are the different ways you can draw balloons. This is a custom pen I made. This is the balloon pen, which is like default. And I made a custom balloon pen where it's basically a balloon pen, but with similar settings to my inking brush. And what like a balloon pen will do, now I want the border to be black and I want the background to be white. Okay, so let me make sure that's right. A balloon pen will make a balloon based on a shape you draw. So let me just draw a big silly shaped one that goes outside of the border so you can see how it overlaps the character. And so yeah, just makes a big old shape like that. And what I personally do is I hand draw my balloons using that tool. Though because I'm being kind of lazy, it's looking silly. And then I'll go to my balloon pen, which is how this one I made for myself, which is what I use to draw my tails, like that, so that they can have a finer tip. Because if I use this to draw a tail, it'll be kind of blunt and fat, and I don't personally like that. So I made this one so that I can have a nice little pointy fine tip. And I guess these are vectors. I'm not entirely sure, so they can be resized, and you can just move this anywhere, and you can move that anywhere, and you can move this anywhere, and you can reshape it, and blur to blur to blur. And, get off of what the fucking doing. So yeah, it's interesting. And this is all on one layer, so your text and your balloons will be on one layer together. So you don't have to have several layers dedicated to each different thing. So yeah, it's pretty neat. You can change all these at any point. Let me delete that. Let me delete the balloons that I made. And if you don't like to draw them, hand draw them, you can go in and make a, there's a balloon, like just a sort of ellipse. Just, draw that around, and then you can grab my tail. And there's that. There's also this, which you sort of like, I don't like using this. I've never used this in a way that pleases me, but it's just sort of like, I guess if you use Illustrator, this might be something you like, but I'm not a big old fan of it. It's kind of bleh. So there's that. Oh, I have it set really thick for some reason, but there's that. Okay, so let me make another border. I hand draw my tails, but you don't have to, because it can do that for you. I'm going to reposition. Burp, burp, burp. If you select your text, you can free move it, but if you select the balloon itself, it'll drag your text with it. So that's a nice feature. Let me put that up here. Okay. Different ways to make tails. Let me go back into this. Balloon tail and balloon round tail. Balloon round tail is basically balloon tail, but it makes dots instead, and I'll show you in a second. But balloon tail, oh wait, let me get out. Okay. It starts you off as straight line, so I'm going to show that first. It's basically just this. I don't like it for reasons of the weird pointy thing it does to the tip, and that's why I don't like using it. But yeah, you can just draw a straight little point like that. I don't like it. Polyline, where it basically is just point, point, little zigzag. Yeah, whatever. I guess it'll look different if you make the line thinner too. But whatever, I don't like it. It's not my favorite. But I do, however, like spline. Spline is nice sometimes. Or spleen? Spline? Even though it still does that tip I don't like. I'm not a fan of that fucking tip. And not my favorite. And if you change the if you change the width of tail, it just means it starts off fatter. You just keep drawing with it. Doot, doot, doot. Where did it go? Who knows? But I don't like using those. Like I said, I like using balloon pen because I can just draw it myself. I like it. Balloon round tail is basically the same thing, but it makes dots. So, if you're into that, if you want to make some dots, have fun. It's kind of lazy and shitty. I don't like it, but yeah, it just like I'd rather draw that shit out. It'd be way easier to draw out. Now, if I do everything within the same layer, all my balloons will sort of link. Like, let's say I draw more text on the same layer, because if I draw these close, stop it. Here, since I started my new bit of text close to the other one, it's putting them on the same layer, so blah, 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 blah. So these are now on the same layer, which means that if I were to draw a balloon around it, oops, and then move it around, it's going to like merge with any balloon shapes or whatever that are. I guess the good thing about me having no idea what the hell I'm talking about means I get to talk in really simple words. So I'm sure that's helpful. So yeah, you can like do like that, or like I like to link them by little like strands or whatever. Just draw that shape and bam. And you can like, move that around or whatever. Boop, 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 boop. So yeah, that's fun to do. However, if you just like make a new layer, where'd it go? There it is. Here's a new layer. Then on that layer, whatever you apply, or whatever balloons you draw, are just going to be layered. So if I move that down, it's just going to be under. Move that above it. It's just, just basic shit. So yeah, it's pretty neat. There's a lot more stuff you could do, but yeah, pretty neat stuff. And like I said, this is containing everything within this masked folder. So if I could leave it, you can see it like that. So anything I do in that folder is just going to stay in it, in that little masked area. See, the blue shows where it's masked off. So under Mac, I can just apply, like, I'm going to get rid of this because it's cluttering. I can just apply, wait. Oh yeah, because I'm drawing with white. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to paint, it doesn't matter, but yeah, you get the idea. It's neat. It's cool. It's a cool thing. Yeah, EX has story management, and it seems neat, but I don't know if, it doesn't seem to have, it also has other settings which are kind of neat, but I haven't really looked at any of them and go, yeah, I need that. So personally, not having EX doesn't really bug me too much, because like it's got cool settings, but none of them are really things I kind of, my heart is crying out for. Oh, another cool thing. This is actually fairly new. Here, I'll go in a different layer, or a different, here, I'll go in this weird ass panel I drew. Another thing that's actually kind of new, it was an upgrade a few months ago, I think, is when you do your perspective ruler. Let's say I'm going to make let me draw my points, and there's a horizon line, and see, there it is. Now, it didn't used to do this, but now shapes, like if you use a shape tool, I think it's called figure or whatever, where'd it go? It's under the same, where is it? I forget where it is. Here we go. It's, here are all the shapes you can draw. So, it's really neat. Any, like, shape like these you will use will snap to the shape in perspective of this perspective ruler. So if I draw this circle out, it'll do like this. It'll just automatically be applied to the perspective. It's really neat. It can be useful for, plotting things out. You do have to be careful. It can be finicky whether it applies, which way it applies. So you gotta really, like, I keep trying to keep myself from cussing. I guess this is a cuss. Oh, this is okay to cuss in this zone. But yeah, you just do stuff like that. It's really interesting. It just depends on like where the starting point is. It'll go in the direction of where you want it. It's really friggin' weird. Like I said, these are all tools that could easily make your comic look shitty. Shitty and flat and static if you do these and just that's how you draw. But these are good tools. Like let's say I want to draw a table, and do what I told you, and I want to put plates on it. No. See, it's real finicky. You gotta, yeah, that's why I wanted to put some plates on it. See, it's real finicky and shitty. And let's say I make that my sketch layer. Now, if I want this to apply to all layers, I have to go into it and go show in all layers. Okay, and that means I can just draw over it in my sketch. Nope, stop. I have that snapping to ruler. I have to undo that. You know, I can then draw over these things. Just a little bit, you know, this is sloppy. I'm just an example, just kind of an example how you can use this to make better, that's supposed to be showing all over. Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, go back into your sketch and you can just like doop, 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 doop. Long table. The tallest table in the world. It's really neat. There's a lot of other settings you can play with, and I can't even begin to like go into them because it's some crazy shit. It's some crazy ass shit. Yeah, a table for giraffes, indeed. It's a neat program. There's lots of cool stuff. Like I said, I can always tell when someone has Manga Studio and they're like kind of to not to sound rude, but they're kind of a noob and they're just like it. A lot of the features Manga Studio offers, if you're like a lazy artist, it's really easy to spot them from like a mile away. So like while all these features are cool, I wouldn't just slap them down because it's really obvious to anyone else who has Manga Studio when you do stuff like that. Where it's like, oh, I see what you did. I've used that built-in brush for leaves. So what else? So yeah, just these are all cool tools, and these are amazing to use in your art and to help you do stuff. And I would definitely recommend, like all this perspective stuff, I recommend using the things you draw with it kind of as a reference sketch more than the things you slap down. Well, you say it's obvious, but you never know. I still see people like do some real obvious stuff. Like for example, like Manga Studio has some built-in little over here. There's some pattern brushes where you can just draw out stuff like this or this. Now let me turn that off. Let me make it not snap to perspective. What if the table was turned 45 degrees? See, if the table's turned 45 degrees, that just means that you're going to just have to figure that out and draw it yourself, just like you would with any perspective grid. So you're just going to have to work that out yourself. Figure out your perspective and then work out the 45-degree angle thing on your own, just like you would drawing perspective on paper. Like I said, it's you learn. And yeah, there's a lot of like preset brushes, and a lot of people I've seen will just there tones, and it's like I know where you got that. I've seen those snowflakes. I mean, they're still useful. These are like useful things. Like I use these little brain fart. Like I use these damn sparkles all the time. I love these sparkles. These sparkles are my lifeblood. I love them. They're best. They're the best. Like, look at all these twinkles. Look at them. It's amazing. Look at this. Shoujo as fuck. So yeah. Um so yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. I'm not sure what else people are interested in. But yeah. That's most of the shit people ask me about in Manga Studio. And like I said, this is recording, and I hope that once it's done recording, I can then upload this, and the next time someone's like, tones, and I'm like, nope, go watch the video. I don't want the video, I don't want to do it, I don't want to talk to you. I mean, I like talking to people, but sometimes I don't want to talk about tones. Magical friendship. Okay, what else? Is there anything else people want to know about? Bear in mind, you might ask something I don't know shit about. Because I'm a smart person, but I'm kind of slow at the uptake. Did I get your... I don't know, I got a lot of spoopy name suggestions, but I already have a spoopy name. Ah, yeah, I saw that one. Texture or tone. Oh god, 3D models and vectors. I don't know. If you want to know anything about 3D models and vectors, I don't know that stuff. I super don't know that stuff, and I don't like that stuff, and I haven't found a use for it, so no, I've not. I only used, like, I used one of the 3D models once to help me with a pose, but it was so finicky that it made me angry. So I'm not the best person to demonstrate those things. Yeah, all versions have the creepy dolls that you can pose. Here, for shits and giggles, I'm gonna make a, just to show you this crazy ass shit. Let me go into material. No, not that. Let me go into materials. Let me pick out one of them people. God, these creepy fuckers. It's gonna take a second. Oh, this might take forever, actually. Okay, let's just sit here and wait. This has to... Oh, I shouldn't have dragged one of these. I should know better than that. I should have just got one of the blank ones. I forgot this takes a while. Wow, I've made an error. I shouldn't have done this. I think I'm gonna crash Manga Studio. No, there the fucker is. I hate this thing. Look at it. Look at it. I hate it so much. Oh, of course you can look up her skirt. Why wouldn't you? Anyway, god fucking damn it, I hate this thing. Yeah, you can... Ugh. God, I hate you. I hate you so much. Okay. But yeah, this is one example, and you can get like blank models too. This is just the one I grabbed, but you can move their stupid hands about and repose them and twist them. And, ugh, hate it. Hate it. Hate it. Fucking hate it. Fucking hate you. Okay, let me, how do I zoom in? I need to zoom in. You're not gonna let me zoom? Why don't you let me zoom in the photo? Okay, here we go. God, I gotta be weird like that. God, I hate this thing. Hate it! Minimize this. But, you can go in and very, like, oh god, look at this creepy shit! Now you can, like, change the pose, and I hate it. I just hate it. It's garbage, and I hate it. We can break her. It's interesting, and I'm sure that it's useful, and if you use a blank pose, it can be used good for, like, referencing poses or whatever. Like, you need to draw that pose. There you go. And then you can, like, go rasterize it, and I'll just flatten it. So now you can't edit it anymore. Now it's just this flat-ass image of this Amine girl. I hate her. I fucking hate her. Look, we'll apply dots to her. We'll zoom in and see what that's like. I just turned that layer into dots. So look at her. Instantly you made manga. You're a mangaka. There, that's all you had to do. Hey, I'm not. I just dislike this. I'm a hateful creature. There, you're instantly a mangaka. You did it. Congrats. I've taught you everything you need to know. That is true, yeah. Listen to J.K. Hilbert. He knows his shit. He was the one who first taught me Manga Studio stuff. Let me delete her because I hate her. So yeah, a lot of interesting stuff to do. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. I think that's everything. This is like the most informal demonstration in the world. Excuse me. You're welcome. You just yanked some of my hair out. Good job, me. Alright, I guess that's everything that people ask about. I will save the recording. Yeah, let me stop it then. This is it.